Rick and Morty is back, and we're excited to talk about it here on Top of the List. Of course, my name is RB. I'm here with my bud Dom.
What's up,
Going
everybody?
back to our little old school setup here, Zoom recording. Dom's back home with his family. We'll be keeping it that way. I'm going back home to visit my family in a couple of days. And then we'll be back in the Top of the List studios in just a little bit. But couldn't wait to put this episode out. Rick and Morty season premiere, the shortest wait we've had in between Rick and Morty seasons, just a little bit over a year from the end of season 4 to here season 5. But I was really pleasantly surprised with this episode. I loved it. I was laughing through the whole episode. It was a great ride, great story. Dom, what did you think about it?
Yeah, I liked it, man. It was a good premiere. I think that I was glad they focused on Morty because that was my biggest problem with last season. And yeah, enjoyable episode of TV. Did you give your score or?
I haven't given my score yet, but I'll go off of that and say I love this episode. I'm going to give it a 9.5 out of 10 to start for this season.
Dang,
right
that's
up
high.
there. Yeah, I think they left off. They picked up right where they left off at the end of season 4. I think the entire second half of season 4 ranged between 9 and 10 for me. And I think they Justin Roiland and company picked up right where they left off. So huge score. Loved this. Loved Rick's sort of funny side adventure, but like we said as well, loved the Morty story, just like you. That was sort of our darker, edgier part of the episode, was focused more on Morty and his storyline. And I love that too.
Yeah, definitely. I'd probably give this one an 8 out of 10. I think it was a pretty great episode. Not quite on the level of what we got in the season finale last year. I thought that was really interesting, even though my biggest gripe with that was that Morty was sidelined in that one, and they fixed it in this one. Yet the biggest problem in this one was that Rick got sidelined. It just seemed like we got a little bit of Rick, but not quite as much as we normally do. And once again, my biggest problem with the show in general is it doesn't really continue with where they leave off. We got a great ending last season at the end of season 4 after I binged them all, with Rick kind of, finally saying it out loud and admitting it to himself that he's a terrible father. And there were small traces of that storyline just subtly throughout this episode, but it wasn't the focus. I was hoping they would build on that and focus on it more. Looks like they may or may not this season. It's up in the air still. But with that said, glad they focused on Morty. And I thought it was just a funny gag with the time passing faster in the other side of the portal, and everything that happened with the hoofy and all that stuff was great. And one other thing that kind of disappointed me a little tiny bit in this episode is I thought it had the potential to be amazing, and that would have been if they had decided to finally make Jessica a main character. I thought that's where they were going. I thought this was finally going to be the time where Jessica saw all the weird shit that's going on, with Rick and Morty's family and all that stuff. And I thought after she gets back from the portal, she was going to be like, wow, Morty, do you go on adventures like this all the time? That's so awesome. Can I, be part of this too? And then I thought it would be fun to have a few episodes where it's Rick, Morty, and Jessica going on the usual Rick and Morty adventures, and adding that new dynamic would have been interesting. Seems like they're kind of just writing her off a little bit now. So that was a little disappointing to me. What do you think about that?
I don't know. I feel like Jessica needs to remain as a side character. She is, to me, if you will, she's Morty's white whale, so to speak. And tying her into the episodes would sort of take away, I feel like, from part of Morty's struggle as a character. I like what they did with Jessica in this episode, definitely. And I'm excited to see if they have any continuity with what happened to her, without any spoilers. Yeah. But I think I enjoyed Jessica's storyline, and I'm okay with them leaving her out. I think we have a good base of characters now that it seems like both Beth and Jerry are going to be primary characters, as well as Summer. And I don't know that we needed to add anyone else, but I did like the storyline they went with Jessica in this episode for sure.
We've had 4 seasons of those guys already. Let's get some new characters in there. I mean, Rick and Morty can't just be Rick and Morty forever. I thought it would have been interesting to change the dynamic.
All right. Well, I think I don't want to say anything more without going into spoilers. So is it time for the spoiler warning?
Sure. If you want to talk about
All right.
spoilers,
All
yeah,
right. So,
let's do it.
yeah, I mean, I think it's time for the spoiler warning. So wee. So yeah, I think uh, as for those of you who caught up to the episode, obviously we open up one of my favorite things, and I know one of your favorite things, Dom, about what Rick and Morty does is you start the episode. There's no lead in. It's just right into the action, like
Yeah.
as if we were in part 2 of a 2-part episode almost.
Mm.
Just Morty and Rick on an adventure, not really sure what's going on, but Rick is badly beat up. The UFO or whatever you want to call it, their flying machine is crashing into Earth. Morty's determined to save it, and then he thinks they're gonna die. He calls Jessica. He confesses his feelings, and she's like, "Wow, I wish you had told me this sooner." And it sparks him to save him and Rick's life, but land in the ocean.
Yeah, and it's almost like it's confirming our or the theory you found out about Ryan, where it's like each episode could be a different Rick and Morty, because how many times does Morty confess his love to Jessica? This is what, the 3rd or 4th time now, and all of a sudden she's acting like none of those other times ever happened. So I think that could be another pin in the theory there, that we're also dealing with possibly another alternate Rick and Morty here.
Yeah,
and that could be maybe why they don't follow up with what happens at the end of season 4. They just keep moving forward with another adventure.
Yeah, that could definitely be the case. Now, I don't know if you caught it. I don't know if you're a follower of the Rick and Morty Instagram page, but they kind of gave a prequel to the start of this episode on their Instagram page, if I'm not mistaken. I'm going to pull it up real quickly.
Oh, but I didn't see that.
Yeah, so it was sort of in the same art of where Rick and Morty were to start the episode. It was one of those monsters that they're flying away from. It just grabs Jerry as they're all eating breakfast. Yeah,
that's funny.
And
anything with Jerry is funny.
Yeah, and the caption, I love the caption too, because it was their Father's Day post. With "Happy Father's Day to everyone but Jerry."
Yeah. Oh, that's great.
So that was great. But that was sort of a little teaser to the episode, because whatever that monster was that grabbed Jerry was in the same art, with the floating pink crystals around it, as the world that we began this episode on, which I love. But, eventually Morty crashes into the ocean. We find out that crashing into the ocean unleashes Rick's greatest enemy, as we see on Dom's screen here, Mr. Nimbus.
Mr. Nimbus. What was your verdict on Mr. Nimbus here, Ryan? I thought he was kind of silly.
I mean, he was. That's what he was there to do. Just another one of Rick's zany sort of backstory characters, like Bird Person, like Squanchy, amongst others, like the Vindicators. I liked it. I thought it was well executed. Also voiced by Justin Roiland.
Okay, yeah.
And I thought he was funny. He was there for gags for sure. It wasn't a serious storyline, but I thought they played it really well.
Yeah, I thought it was good too. I thought the funniest part about Mr. Nimbus was his interactions with Rick, of course, and Mr. Nimbus, he controls the police.
Yes.
I thought that was great. That was a great little one-liner there they kept giving off. And besides that, though, wasn't quite sure why. I don't know why they thought it was so funny that he wanted to have a threesome with Jerry and Beth.
I think that's an underrated part of this episode. I liked Jerry and Beth's side story here. I like to see them,
or leaving it.
Okay, see, I like to see them growing as a couple. It's intriguing to me, because their relationship dynamic has just been so tumultuous and so different from each of the 4 seasons, from them sort of not really being in love and just being together for the kids in season 1. Obviously season 2 growing apart, season 3 the divorce, and then getting back together in season 4, to seeing them where they are now. We watch pornography together.
Yeah,
I thought it was a great storyline, and I'm excited to see how the tumultuous relationship of Jerry and Beth expand in this season. I think that's probably one of my favorite, parts of Rick and Morty are the Jerry and Beth episodes, because they just don't belong together, but they do. They're so perfect together for each other, and yet they're so not perfect for each other. It's one of my favorite parts of Rick and Morty.
Right on. Yeah, I thought it was cool. I don't know. I like your more what can I say here? Non-traditional pairings. I love the episode where we got just a Rick and Jerry episode. I love the
Right,
episodes where we get just Rick and Beth. Stuff like that. You're not traditional pairings there. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I hear you, but I feel like it's a premiere. You
Yeah.
gotta go with your traditional pairings to start off. I feel like, and then we'll get more.
Stick to what
I
you're
think
good at.
that's pretty much why we didn't see much of Summer in this episode.
Yeah. That was another character that got sidelined, unfortunately. But sometimes Summer is, she's a side character. She's the epitome of a side character, I think, in this show, and that's fine. I like when Morty is in the spotlight, and that's what this episode did well.
Yeah.
Now, I do want to discuss one big thing. We got a few things coming this season. Another Thanksgiving episode we're gonna get this year. I don't know, or is it the first Thanksgiving episode? I'm not sure if we had. It was a Christmas one, and then we have a Thanksgiving
Christmas
this year.
episode is one of the best ones. Yeah.
Yeah. This year we're gonna get a Thanksgiving episode, so we got that to look forward to. But I think what I'm most curious to find out is what's going to be our, if you will, interdimensional cable rival this year. We had 1 and 2, we had Mind Blowers, and then we had the train episode. What are they going to do? Can they top it? Is it just going to be terrible? What's going to happen?
Well,
what do you think?
We had a reference to interdimensional cable in this episode with the Nintendo 69 channel.
That was funny.
That was really fun. There were a lot of callbacks in this episode. We got callback to the Atlantis episode that we never saw about destroying that mermaid puss.
Yep.
Yeah, there were some good callbacks in the episode, but I'm not much for predictions in Rick and Morty because I think that's what Rick and Morty does best is keeps us on our toes. And I think the best example is the Atlantis episode, the Rick-Lantis mix-up, I believe is what it was called, where all week they had us expecting an Atlantis episode where instead we got Tales from the Citadel, which was one of the greatest episodes we've seen. So I'm not one for predicting Rick and Morty. I let Justin Roiland and Matt Herman do their thing, and I'm just along for the ride. So if they give us another interdimensional cable, I'm about it. If they go in a different direction, like they did with the Story Train or Mind Blowers, whether or not
that's my thing. How can they top that? Story Train was so amazing. I love that episode.
Story Train was incredible. Yes, absolutely.
My other thing I'm wondering too, going into the season, is are we going to get to see Bird Person, or as he's known now, Phoenix Person? Because at the end of season 4, we saw that Rick was going to be putting him back together after he defeated him. So I'm curious to see where those recurring characters are if they're going to show up again.
Yeah. How about the Rickest Morty or Evil Morty?
Evil Morty
again?
Are we going to see that storyline come to a climax at any point?
Our second Beth. There's a lot of different characters we could call back to. And there are a lot of just different storylines that, original storylines. That's what these guys are great at.
We only got a couple more seasons. They got to give us some answers eventually. Because I think they're only renewed till season 7, if I remember correctly. There's 2 more seasons after this. I remember reading that, I think. So we'll get to see some stuff going on soon, but stick here on top of the list to find out what's going to be happening next week. With next week's Rick and Morty, we'll give it a review as well. And stay tuned for our Loki review coming out sometime this week as well. So stick with us there, and we'll see you guys on the next episode of Top of the List. Ryan, you want anything to say here at the end of the episode?
Yep. Just be sure to like, follow, subscribe. For those of you listening on our podcast services, please leave us a 5-star review. We've got our social medias down in the description, so give us a follow. Be sure to reach out if you have to let us know your thoughts on Rick and Morty as it goes along. But we'll see you guys later this week for our Loki review. Later,
guys.